Hey friends, it's Marie here. Jumping on today as we continue our conversation around being Black and in business, being a woman of color and in business. And today, just jumping on to share some of my favorite women of color to follow as I'm building my business. So I know last week we talked a little bit about what it looks like to start identifying who you want to work with based on their lens. So taking a look at unconscious bias, how that impacts your hiring decisions, and how that informs the work that various contractors could be doing for you. Today, I wanted to share a little bit about some of the women who I have allowed into my space as go-tos, words of wisdom, and who I think really set themselves apart in terms of what they provide as far as business mentorship and knowledge and wisdom. So granted, if you do a quick Google search and look for Black business coaches, Black life coaches, Black business strategists, you're going to get a whole lot of random hodgepodge of top 10 lists that various people have put together, which I've looked at, and quite frankly, none of them seem to have any rhyme or reason to how they're collected. It looks like a lot of folks just tagged a bunch of their friends and said, go to see these people. And I can't give you those references because those websites were terrible and they didn't represent right in their online spaces. So it's really hard when the branding's not on point for me to advocate for people. But that's why I came up with my very, very short list of people who have been my go-to since I started in business and as I continue to grow. And of course, as I find more awesomeness like this, I will share them with you so that you too can jump on these bandwagons. The way we're going to go through this list, I will just share the name of the woman who I think is awesome. I will also liken her to some others in the space. So maybe some men or some maybe even white women who are doing similar work, and then just point to why I like this particular woman and why she kind of stands apart for me. And then also just some nuggets in terms of what this particular consultant or influencer is good for and how it might fit into your business. So those are kind of the four areas that we'll dig into today. The first woman that I'm going to shout out is probably the one that I know the least about, and that's Rosetta Thurmond. I spoke about her a little bit as I was digging in about a month or so ago, looking for retreats and strategy sessions. And Rosetta Thurmond, she's the woman behind the Happy Black Woman brand. I talked a little bit about this before. She doesn't have a great online presence, but what she does have is private Facebook group, which you can join and be a member of and be a part of the thriving community there. She, in terms of who she's like, I don't know that there's anyone specifically like her in this vein, because it looks like what she does is put together an annual retreat every year. That is her model for her business, is setting up retreats. The only other kind of vein that I've seen this in is a lot of small business retreats for women in the South. I think when I spoke about this last, I had found a couple that were like in Nashville and things like that, where it's a small cohort of women coming together in a house to talk business strategy and to play a little bit. And that's what Rosetta Thurmond does, but she does focus specifically on Black women who are in that space. So to check her out, definitely check out her Facebook page. The reason I like her is because in a Black community, if it's a sleepover, you don't have to explain some of the basics. Also, I think she's really good for people who are just looking for a plug in, plug out in terms of finding a retreat solution to dig deep into your business and then come out and do all of the work. Okay. Second woman on my list, good old Danielle Leslie. And if you are anywhere doing anything related to creating a course and are in the Facebook universe, you have heard of Danielle Leslie. If you're on Instagram, you have, I'm sure, swiped through some of her stories or seen her ads, because Danielle Leslie has built an empire around her course called Course from Scratch, where she teaches creatives how to build content to create an evergreen funnel for their business. That means a plug and play solution that generates money for you while you can be off sipping coladas on the beach. Danielle's methodology, her theory, her whole entire business model is very similar to Amy Porterfield. I love Amy Porterfield. I don't know that there's anyone like her in the space who teaches online marketing with a thoroughness that is one to behold. If you're not following her, I highly recommend it. And then when it comes time to buy a course, I would recommend buying Danielle Leslie's course from scratch. And the reason that I really like Danielle is because, unlike Amy Porterfield, Danielle does not overwhelm you with content and to-dos and tasks as an entrepreneur. I think we do that on our own very well. Instead, Danielle's whole philosophy is around the lean startup model and thinking about your minimum viable product. Because she is a course creator, she tells you to create your minimal viable course, right? Get that first iteration out as soon as possible, because then of course you can iterate, which if you've read The Lean Startup, that's exactly what it's about. I highly recommend Danielle for that. If you've been procrastinating on starting, she is a good person to go to. Also, her course from scratch private Facebook community is thebomb.com for ongoing support, largely women of color, though anybody and everybody's up in there because her goodies are so good. And she keeps it real, right? She's talking to you in a language of vernacular that is very casual, colloquial, one that we can both understand, and that makes her feel very accessible and real. So a great place to start, especially if you're trying to create a course and figure out how to market it and build out a framework and think about content creation from a very focused and centered place. Third woman on my list, good old Rachel Rogers, the queen of Hello 7, the innovator behind the Glow Up. This woman has a business builders incubator. In a lot of ways, she is very similar to Marie Forleo, who has her B School, right? So, and I'll just put out there, most of these online marketing influencers are largely teaching you the same thing over and over. It's just finding the one that best fits what you're trying to do with your business and your model. Marie Forleo's B School, I would argue you're going to learn a lot of what you would learn from Amy Porterfield's course and a lot of what you would learn in Danielle Leslie's course. Rachel Rogers offers her Glow Up, that actually walks you through understanding your ideal market, understanding your product and your positioning, and then building out what that looks like to create a high ticket product and how to market that high ticket product. So she incorporates things like Facebook ads and webinars and all of that stuff into her content. Her program is on the pricey end, but from what I've heard, it's very, very thorough. I do know peeps who have gone through her Glow Up and got a lot of value out of it. And she, like everyone else, is also incorporating live group coaching in those sessions. So you get a lot of face time with people who can really dig in with you on your business and what it is you're trying to create. I think Rachel is phenomenal if you're really looking for high touch and someone to push you. That is some feedback that I actually received from another woman who took her course not that long ago and said, if you're not ready to go really big, right, don't do it, because they are going to push you to think really a lot bigger than you're probably thinking right now. The reason her website is hello7.com is because she is dedicated to taking people from their first 100K to 7-figure businesses. What? Right? So you're at 6 figures, right? You just hit that 6-figure mark. How can you jump to 7 figures? And she does that through this model of her Glow Up program and then eventually her mastermind groups. And then the last one, saving the best for last, is good old Sandra Yancey. I've talked about Sandra before because I am an E-Women member, part of that extensive all-women entrepreneurs network. First discovered them, I think, last summer, and love what Sandra does. Her content is amazing. And again, similar to Rosetta Thurmond, I don't know anyone who is quite doing what Sandra is doing in this space. She has this annual conference where she brings hundreds of women together, and the content at this thing is unbelievable. Now, take this from me because I'm a professional development junkie, but when people corral you into a room and say they're going to teach you things, oftentimes what they end up doing is trying to sell you things, right? They're all about selling you things. There's like 30% content and 70% someone selling you. At Sandra's conference, right, it is like 90% teaching you things and 10% sales. So, and all these things are very structured, very similar, where you're going to get all the content up front, and then the back end is going to be a sale. Here's how you can continue learning with me. But what I loved about Sandra is if you go with a notebook to her conference, you were going to walk out with like 30 actions that you can take for your business. And it could be 30 actions for every session that you sit in. Last year, when I went to that conference, I had to decompress every night of the conference. I was there for 3 or 4 days. And every evening I was sitting there like, oh my gosh, so many ideas. What can I do next? How am I going to build it? What am I going to do? Who can I tap? How can I leverage my VA? Like, what can I take off my plate? What do I need to put on my plate? How can I reposition my social media? And it was phenomenal, right? So Sandra is really good for anyone who's at any stage in their business development, right? It's really a nice catch-all because you're going to get so many ideas across the business building process. It's also great for community. The conference itself, you're going to meet so many amazing women, and everyone there, which is what I kind of love about the entrepreneur community, everyone there is dedicated to learning and growth and pushing people up. It's a great space to start supporting other entrepreneurs. When I went last year, that's where I met my bookkeeper. That's where I met some additional accountability partners. There are women who I've met at that experience who I've kept in contact with, and it's a year later. So it's phenomenal for that and for surrounding yourself with people who you could really call into your tribe to support you as a business owner, which we all know is super important, right? So that's what Sandra is good for. It's for community. It's also good for just leveling up no matter where you are. The mission statement of the eWomen Network is 1 million women grossing $1 million. And so she really is dedicated in helping women get this money. And we do that by up-leveling and networking and leveraging each other. So that's my final plug for women of color who are doing big things. Rosetta Thurmond, Black woman. Danielle Leslie, Black woman. Rachel Rogers, Black woman. She's very fair. So there's like some other ethnicities in there as well. And then Sandra Yancey is Black, but like French, Canadian, a whole bunch of other interesting things, right? So women who aren't just your plain vanilla and are giving back in really powerful ways to communities that are important to them. And so whether you're looking for a one and done overnight retreat to jumpstart your business and strategic planning, or you're ready to build an online course and create an evergreen product, or you're ready to level up and stretch for 7 figures and build out your value ladder, or you're looking for community and networking and support, there is a woman out there who wants to help you. And of course, if you can support the Black and brown out there among us, I highly encourage you to do so. Please, as you jump off today, drop a note in the comments. Let me know who you're excited to check out, or even if you have questions about any of them. I'm a big fan of Danielle Leslie and Sandra Yancey, and then the other 2, I have some contacts that I could connect you with if you want to know more. So that's my 2 cents for today. I hope it helps you out. Go out there, do amazing things, support Black and brown business women as you continue to support yourself. Talk to you soon, y'all.